Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm a grumpy sourpuss motherfucker in the morning with no shirt on and Gatorades and Diet Pepsis in front of me. That's what I am. How are you? What are you?
Well, I'm fine, and I'm glad to be here. We're going to be talking about International Incident from 1996. You know, I love 1996. It's one of my favorite years to talk about. And of course, we're going to be talking about it all today. I gave you two choices today, Bruce. I said, do you want to talk about Trish Stratus or do you want to talk about International Incident? Because we have both on the schedule. I got notes for both. I'm ready to go. And you picked In Your House. So Trish is still coming your way. Don't worry.
Where else would I be, Conrad? I am in my house.
Exactly.
Not in your house.
Why did you pick, I'm curious, why did you pick International Incident 96 instead of Trish? Is it just based on your availability today? Or are you really excited about this topic?
It's more chosen on my grumpiness.
Okay.
Than anything else because I really like Trish.
I see.
And I don't want to disservice Trish. In your house in 1996, I'll disservice that.
Well, that's hurtful. That's rude.
Why?
It just is. It hurts my feelings.
Inside where it counts?
Inside where it counts. Listen, let's get into it.
How's Mama doing?
Mama's great.
Okay.
How's your mama?
Dead.
Oh, man. I was hoping she's going to make a big comeback.
No. Deader than Kelsey's nuts.
What was the finish on her?
Platter and plate full of piss.
Okay. I don't want to keep talking about your mom. International Incident, 1996. The show is probably more notable for who doesn't appear, the Ultimate Warrior. Now, we've covered that in the archives, but you and I haven't really spoken since everyone was treated to Ultimate Warrior Week earlier this summer. They had a Dark Side of the Ring, and they had an A&E. Did you see the A&E biography on Ultimate Warrior that you guys did?
No, didn't watch it.
I'm not surprised. It's not like you got a lot of free time.
Yeah, it's in between my Leave It to Beaver reruns. I don't have a whole lot of time.
I do want to mention, this is such a fascinating time, 1996. 25 years ago, it feels like wrestling changed forever, really within just a couple of weeks. Stone Cold Steve Austin cuts his famous promo at King of the Ring. Austin 316 is born. The Warrior and the WWF relationship is going to come to an end. And oh, by the way, on the other channel, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan have formed the NWO. And it's all happening within a few weeks. This is a crazy time in the company, in the business, right?
Turmoil. I guess tumultuous would be a really good descriptor for it, because I think that WCW at the time had that magic bullet, if you will, of a feeling of danger and a feeling of what's going to happen next there. And I don't think we had that same. I don't think we had that same curiosity at the time.
It's interesting to me to look back because we've spent a lot of time talking about 1990 and sort of the passing of the torch from Hulk Hogan to the Ultimate Warrior. And now here we are 6 years later. And while Warrior seems to be fizzling out here in the WWF, as you like to say, Hulk Hogan's getting a fresh paint of coat on the other channel. And you and I haven't talked about that a ton. What was the internal office reaction? And by that, I guess I really mean Vince, Bruce, and Pat, to Hulk Hogan turning heel.
I think more than anything, it was, personally, I wish we had done it. I wish that we had done it a while ago. And it was more of their positioning of like it was WWE versus WCW with those talent. Without, finally they had to come out and say, hey, you guys don't represent WWE, even though that the commentary tried to drive you that way all the time. And so you're looking at it through business eyes and not necessarily a fan's eyes a lot of times. And to the audience, it was Hulk Hogan. It was something that they were familiar with. And I dare say that a lot of people, were ready for him to turn. They wanted to boo him. They had been booing him. So you had the perfect storm, and no matter what, anybody says, I think that the pivotal moment was Hulk turning heel for WCW. I think that was what made the turn. That's what, when they did that, they made the turn and didn't look back for 83 weeks.
I'm curious from your perspective, do you think, this is all hypothetical, of course, but if you guys had turned Hogan heel in 93, which I think is the time you're talking about, is that right? You were thinking 93 maybe be the time to turn?
Yeah.
So had you done it 3 years prior, the NWO clearly doesn't have nearly the effect that it does, but had the NWO not really turned the volume up, maybe you guys wouldn't have been at your best. Iron sort of sharpens iron. In hindsight, it's probably better that you didn't turn him heel. It wound up actually helping your business, which I don't think a lot of people from the outside would maybe initially put together.
Sure. Because as you said, iron sharpens iron, and you're being challenged now, and that gets you on your toes. So yes, it was a completely different feeling. And as you say, thankful that we didn't turn Hulk when we wanted to, or at least I wanted to, back in 93. So I think it was an exciting time to be a fan of the product in general, both.
What's Vince saying about it? Hogan turning?
Not a whole lot, other than there was so much resistance from Hulk way back when, Hulk and Vince saw Hulk Hogan and the real American character as beyond reproach, and that, you couldn't fuck with that formula. And it was proven wrong. I'm just,
I don't know, the parallels that Warrior and Hogan's career sort of ran here. Is there a commentary on, hey, when things started to get stale for Hogan, he turned heel, and when things started to get rough for Warrior, he just went home? Would Warrior as a heel have worked in a different time or place? Or is he one of those characters that could only be that crazy babyface?
No, I think Warrior would have been a hell of a heel. It was backstage, and I think that you could take that and put that on camera and easy to hate.
It's so fascinating, this, 6-week time period in 96. Let's just run through it again. Kurt Angle wins the gold medal with a broken freaking neck. The Austin 316 promo happens. Hulk Hogan turns heel. The Warrior's leaving. That's all in a 6-week period. We're shaping professional wrestling for the next decade or decades here in just 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I just thought it was a bad month and a half.
It's weird though. I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, when these things are happening, it's probably hard to put them all together because you're just trying to get to another day. But when you look back, it's pretty remarkable all that happened in 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, shit was happening in general. And I think that it was a moment in time where there was so much adjusting and so many different things taking place that you really had to put your...
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
Your head down. You really had to focus on your own business. And that's why, man, I can't tell you, with the exception of Bash at the Beach, I can't tell you what WCW did during that time on television on Nitro. I have no clue other than, guys showing up. We were worried about our business, and that's what I was focused on. So to have the time, to have the wherewithal, I just didn't. And we were looking at what we were doing. We were hearing what they were doing from other people. And again, it's like, oh my God,
Does Finkel monitor that?
Fink did. Fink watched everything, yeah.
And
Fink watched everything and let us know what was going on.
When you say he let you know, he just pops by the office, or does he type up a memo?
He would do both. He would let us know, he would either just give us a synopsis of what was going on, or he'd usually just stop in and let us know.
You and Vince never had their show maybe on a VHS just playing in the background in the office just so you could keep up?
I probably did. Vince, I know, didn't. Please. I don't know. He's ever turned his TV on.
Well, it makes sense.
And I guarantee you he wouldn't have had WCW on in the background.
Well, let's watch this Steinfeld together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. The Raw taping after the King of the Ring really sets the stage for International Incident. Ahmed Johnson's going to make his first defense as Intercontinental Champion over Triple H, and Sunny is going to claim she's bringing in a superstar who is ultimately going to be Ron Simmons. And go ahead.
Farouk Assad.
Yeah, sorry about that. And The Undertaker is going to defeat Steve Austin in the main event, which is a match we'll see many times in the coming years. And I think as the story goes, as the legend goes, I guess at this point, once Austin cuts the Austin 316 promo, within a few days, JR is going to rip up his current contract and give him a new one on the spot, and we're off to the races. Did you know immediately after the Austin 316 promo we got something, or is it more when you see all the fans with signs that say Austin 316 the next day?
I think everybody, that were fans of Austin, I think everybody saw Austin as that guy. Not the guy, but as a top guy. And especially when you were looking at nasty heels, Steve fit that bill. And Steve came out of a show with, the Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. Well, it was done. I mean, a blind man could see it.
Let's keep going here. At the Raw show, you guys are going to tape into the future, of course. This is the era where you do a live show and then tape the next week. And it includes a Warrior versus Owen Hart match, which comes to an end when Bulldog and Vader come to help leave the Warrior laying. It is curious. When did you feel like this whole Warrior thing is coming to a head? Did you know in advance of the ultimate impasse? I mean, or was it just right away like, buddy, this is like writing with my left hand. This ain't going to work.
I got to tell you, from WrestleMania on, I just didn't see how it was going to work. It didn't have, that panache of oh boy, it's Warrior again, and can't wait to see him. it was more of oh God, the hell are we going to do with this again? So there was trepidation. It just was. It wasn't a mesh. It wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't like, you can have people that are difficult to deal with, and you learn how to deal with them, and you'll deal with it because of the results. There were no results, and it was just difficult to deal with.
Well, the idea behind International Incident, again, this is the 9th in your house. It's going to be a Canadian show, from Vancouver. And the thought was, well, let's have quote unquote Camp Cornette. So British Bulldog, Owen Hart, and Vader on one side. And so, you've got, the Canadian influence there with Owen Hart. And then across the ring, it'll be Ahmed Johnson, Shawn Michaels, and the Ultimate Warrior. How about that for an odd pairing?
Yeah, a little bit, but it was basically taking,
The top baby faces.
take your top baby faces, throw them in a clump, and let's go. The other thing that was really unique was doing a pay-per-view in Vancouver, because Canada was difficult at times to do business in.
How so?
For getting your trucks across the borders and back and forth, and traveling, going across the border. It's easier to get in Afghanistan than it is Canada at times.
Well, who wants to go to Afghanistan?
Who wants to go to Canada?
Okay. Well, you just alienated half the audience, but go ahead.
I did not, because they know I love Canada. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. And I really do, because they, for so many reasons, Vancouver in particular, where they had Blunt Brothers Cafe, but that's a whole nother story that I think I've already told before.
And you said that, they had some of the best shoe shows around, right?
In Vancouver, possibly.
I've heard that rumor.
Well, there you go. So does Anchorage, Alaska.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. They actually it's more like a pedicure show.
So
Show them tootsies off.
Pedicure show.
Show
Okay.
them tootsies off. Show them tootsies off.
How?
Show me, show them tootsies off. It just comes out like that. See how I just right there, boom, spending my days working hard on the go. But the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. I can't wait to. Anyway.
It's magic. You're magic today.
This was what I do at 3:00 in the morning.
We are recording very, very early just to accommodate your schedule and get our show out on time. But let's talk about Canada in 96. It's been said a lot of times that whenever your wrestling business is down domestically, and this was even the case for Impact a few years ago, where they may be struggling here stateside, internationally, they're doing great business. Canada has always been a feather in the cap for WWF. How important was the Canadian business in 1996?
I think Canadian business was always important, and at this time, they were there. I remember every frigging Boxing Day to you Canadians. The day after Christmas is Boxing Day in Canada. To this day, I'm not really sure what Boxing Day is, but it's a holiday, and it's celebrated on December 26th. And for many, many years, no matter where I was on December 25th in the world, doing what, with who, I could usually count on being in Toronto, Canada on Boxing Day on December 26th. So I had a very fond love for Canada. And Vancouver was absolutely, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful cities in all of Canada. I mean, I love Vancouver. It was fun. There was a clean crispness in the air in Vancouver, on the other side of the country, man. But it was, I know you think I'm bullshit, but Vancouver is fucking fabulous.
Talk to me a little bit about the Ultimate Warrior. I know that we've covered this in long form. It's in the archives at somethingtowrestle.com, but I do want you to just briefly remind everybody what the situation is here with Warrior missing some shows and how maybe he and Vince didn't see eye to eye on all that.
Yeah, well, this was during a time where Warrior, I believe this was a time where his father passed.
That's right.
So we had Warrior booked all across the country in different live events, and he wasn't showing up, wasn't answering any phone calls. And when he finally did, he talked about, his dad, whom he did not have a relationship with, or at least an estranged relationship at best, that his dad was dying, and then his dad died. And, I've got empathy for that. And there's, you want to believe him, but there were too many other things that didn't add up, like, demanding that we purchase a bunch of his comic books, and every month an astronomical amount of money and an astronomical ask for the number of pieces that I don't think, Superman or Spider-Man or any other comic book in the world was selling the kind of numbers that Warrior was demanding that we buy to sell. So there were ulterior motives, and I think Jim may have overextended himself a little bit on the comic book side of things. It was a cool comic book.
You mean
it really was beautiful artwork.
You mean financially, it was a dog, and he was trying to push it off on y'all?
Well, it was his project, and I think he saw that as soon as I get back on WWE TV, I'm going to sell millions of these things.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't the case with periodicals.
Yeah.
So, he looked at it like, well, he's getting screwed because he should be selling all these comic books because he's the Ultimate Warrior. Audience felt different.
So he no-shows some shows because his dad passed away and he needed to attend the funeral. And I think, and I'm not saying this to be cute, you and Vince maybe took issue with that, saying, wait a minute, you told us you hated your dad and had no relationship with him. How dare you take off to go to your dad's funeral?
No one ever said that. The rub, if there was a rub there, was not communicating.
Okay.
And not communicating until long after, where he wouldn't speak to anybody, wouldn't take anyone's phone call. And then afterwards, that was his excuse. And it's like, come on, all the things personally that have gone on in your life and you have come to Vince about and different things and this. And then it all kind of came back to financial and all came back to, well, you need to buy my comic book. So, bye-bye.
Does Vince have a tell when just his demeanor, you've been around him enough where it's like, okay, he's out, he's done, he's finished? Because I have to believe at times Vince can be a patient man, but eventually that's enough.
Yeah, but there's not a tell, man. You never really know. It's the same as,
he never lets you see him sell. He's not going to sell.
No, never.
So you've told
good
us
times and bad. He's not going to sell when it's good either.
Yeah. He never gets too high. He never gets too low. He's just even keel.
Kind of like me. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
Well,
I've been too high. I've been too low. It's just kind of like to keep it slow.
So you've told us before here on the show that your old school promoter mentality is if for whatever reason you can't deliver a match that you've promoted, the replacement has to be bigger. Well, literally, Sid is bigger. Sid is going to be the guy who gets the call, but he's also a guy who's been around the block with y'all before. And for whatever reason, it came to an end. Who else is discussed before you land on Sid? Is there another idea that could have been a fun what if?
Wow. When you go back and you look at the time and the timing of everything with WCW and Hogan and Nash and Hall, what have you, I don't know that there was a whole lot out there to choose from. So, Sid was available, and Sid was somebody that, I think, Sid is a lot like Luger in many respects, and that Sid had a hell of a career on potential. A look that people would kill for.
Yeah.
A natural physique that he worked out like, and man, Sid was the kind of guy that got up at 4:00 in the morning and would have 2 workouts before most people were out of bed. and then he would work out in the afternoon. And he was a health freak. I mean, Sid worked his ass off to have that fucking crazy ass look. And again, he was a guy that, had intensity in his eyes. There was something special about Sid. Psycho Sid was so easy because that's what he looked like. He looked like a psycho. Easy to sell. And there was charisma oozing out of Sid just walking out through that curtain.
Were there any Were there any hurt feelings after his first run? Because he had been here before, main evented a WrestleMania, the whole deal. And, well, he didn't stick around. And I think a lot of people started to sort of poke fun at the softball stuff and missing shows and all that. Do you remember bringing him back here, there being, okay, now listen, it's got to be different this time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it really there wasn't much dwelling on the past at all.
Good.
When Sid came back as a replacement in a spot where we needed someone.
So when he comes back, are you taking more of a wait and see approach? I mean, I know that sounds funny and I know it's not the plan at this point, but things are going to change. And the next WrestleMania, he's in the main event against the Undertaker. He's the world champion.
Right.
But based on his reliability or perhaps lack thereof, it doesn't feel like that would have been the original plan. So are you just like, hey man, we got our ass in a sling with this Warrior thing. Let's bring Sid in, just see what happens.
Well, again, with, the lack of Warrior, you look at it and you go, okay, let's go with what we do have. Right. And Sid was playing nice at the time, and he was probably one of the biggest stars that we had.
Hypothetically, if Sid was not available, Warrior's out, you got to deliver something big. Bret Hart was on the bench. He's on hiatus at this time. Would he have been a backup plan, perhaps?
Quite possibly, but I don't think that Bret was available due to, that's it, due to his schedule and doing whatever it was, Sinbad or Lonesome Dove or whatever at the time.
It's reported in the Observer that Barry Windham had a meeting with Vince. And of course we know he's eventually going to return as the Stalker. Are you reaching out to Barry or is Barry calling you?
Barry was calling us, and it was also, one of those, I always thought Barry Windham was an incredible talent, man. Just another guy that had charisma oozing out the ass. And in a very, if you ever meet Barry, man, you walk away feeling like he'll remember you for forever. And just Barry has that way with people. Barry is one of the most likable humans I've ever had the pleasure to be around. But yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was, hey, they got anything? It's like, hey, Barry, you interested? Yeah, come on in. Let's talk.
Are you what's the context of those conversations with a guy like Barry Windham? Is it all about, the money and the number of dates? Is it more about creative? Do you have a goals type conversation? What's that look like for a guy like Barry?
Really, man, in these years at this time, there never was a, hey, this is how much money you're going to make. That didn't take place. That was, wanted to come to work. Hey, I'd like to come into the territory, if you will, but I'd like to come work for your company. And the guys understood. Business made money. The talent made money. And that's how it worked. For a guy like Barry, it was, come on in. What do you want to do? How do you see yourself? I think that both Barry and us, we both thought that, hey, bringing Barry Windham back, I don't know how special that is and how much that's going to mean. So what kind of character, how can we put a fresh paint of coat on Barry?
Right. And you land on the Stalker. And I think you've told us before that came from just a meeting where Vince is trying to get to know Barry. What do you like to do type of thing, right?
Barry was living out on this compound with his then wife, I believe. May still be married for all I know. I don't know. But this just 300 acres or whatever of Florida, Georgia land. And you go out there and all Barry did was hunt and fish. That's all he was doing. But he would talk about like stalking the animals and, like, oh my God, I got this boar on my land and this some bitch is eating my deer. It's eating this, it's doing that. And he would stalk animals and he would go out and hunt. He liked to hunt the very basics, bow and arrow and knife. And, he hunted with, it's funny, while he did that, he always had a couple guns on his hip just to make sure for the snakes and everything else that was around. But it was a cool place. And the more we started talking and we started thinking about different things and came up with ideas for these vignettes with this camo paint, and you put him in situations out in the wild where you can't see him and he appears out of nowhere and you think you're looking at him, but it's really a reflection in the water. Just different concept shit that became the Stalker.
Let's talk about Sean Waltman. He's also going to have a meeting with Vince, and it's written in the newsletters at the time that no decision was made about his future, but not too terribly long after this, he's going to wind up leaving and going to WCW. Why was it time for Sean to go learn a new hold here?
I think he'd run his course. He'd really just run his course at that time. And there was, 1, 2, 3 Kid was not a big draw. And he was a great worker, excellent worker. But I think it took him going away and coming back to get that attitude and get the 1, 2, 3 Kid off of him.
The character had grown stale.
Yes.
Well, so has Basil Devito. Let's talk about that. The Observer would write, Basil Devito, longtime vice president with Titan Sports, who left a few years back, was hired back as a consultant when it comes to business development. In a sense, he'll be replacing Lisa Wolf, who was another company VP in charge of business development and human resources. Talk to us about Basil Devito, not a guy we've spent a lot of time talking about.
Okay, well, Basil Devito replacing Lisa Wolf, trying to think of a good analogy here, is like taking one of the greatest business people to replace a McDonald's order taker.
Not a big fan of Lisa, huh?
No, I'm not. I thought she was vindictive and not a nice person and not very good at her job. And her job was not business development. Her job was human resources.
And a lot of people, Kevin Nash and whatnot, have had a little fun talking about Lisa Wolf, that she really didn't get professional wrestling.
No, see, I don't have fun talking about Lisa. I have PTSD talking about Lisa. And it's, she was out of her bailiwick with us. Definitely a different world and a different feel than anything she thought she'd ever been in before.
You think one day there's enough meat on the bone for us to do a Lisa Wolf episode?
I think that so much of the Lisa memory with me personally is suppressed. I don't know that I could get it all out. There are, Lisa Wolf was really maybe the only person that ever made me quit.
Wow.
And I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't deal with it.
Now, I don't hate to do a timeout here, but I want to make sure I've got the time frame right. JJ Dillon is helping run talent relations. Lisa Wolf was doing human resources. Did they have to interface a lot?
Yes.
How was that relationship?
I think JJ would tell you it was horrible.
He hated working with her too?
Oh yeah. There wasn't anybody that liked working with her.
She just had a way.
I challenge you to find a person that enjoyed working with her.
I've never heard one nice thing spoken of her.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, why was she here? Was she a Vince hire? Was she a Linda hire? Somebody made the decision that even though nobody gets along with her, she has value.
She was a necessary hire from the standpoint of restructuring the company and, looking at it from a complete outsider looking in from a business point of view and a personnel point of view. So she, as far as putting people in place in the right jobs and all that, she came highly recommended. I just think that she had her Rolodex and that was it. And Lisa Wolf was the person that told me that no one should ever stay at a job longer than 2 years. You need to move on. Build your resume. I said, but isn't a good resume that you've been at a job for a long time? And you've gone up the ranks there? Oh, no. You got to have multiple jobs. But every time that you leave, you got to go to a better job. That's how you build your resume. That's called success in life.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was from New York and had the New York accent. She's from Boston. And allegedly had a boyfriend named Bobby. Okay. And
wait. Why'd you flip me?
No. So
why'd you flip me off?
I didn't flip you off.
Yes, you did.
So it was
okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of imaginary people in that world. And her brother, here's another great. My brother and Steven Aerosmith, they're best friends and all this shit, right? So Aerosmith was coming to the Meadowlands, and I said, well, shit, they're such good friends, man. Can you get me? He can get you any tickets you need anywhere, ever. Now, in our business, when someone says that, like, okay, hey, great, man. I hate asking for tickets. I hate being asked for tickets. But this offer was made, and I'm a big fan of Aerosmith. So I said, hey, shit, yeah, man. They're coming to the Meadowlands. I'd love to see Aerosmith. You think you can get me 4 tickets? One of these people that like gets him on the phone right there. And she says, I've got Bruce Prichard here and blah, blah, blah. He'd like Aerosmith tickets. And he goes, yeah, hey, shit, yeah, man. What do you need? What do you need, bud? I said, anyway, you get 4, done. I said, oh, holy shit. I said, look, man, I'm happy to pay for them. Whatever and everything. She's like, oh my God, thank you. I said, yeah, just give me your credit card. Whip out my credit card, give him a credit card number. I don't know how much those tickets cost.
I do.
$1,800.
Well, you got the hookup.
You know how much people sitting next to us paid for their tickets?
How much?
$21.
Oh my goodness. It was a ticket broker.
Uh-huh.
Well.
Yeah. I can get you whatever you need, man. Sure. I didn't even ask like an idiot.
Yeah.
I didn't ask how much.
Right.
But I always offer to pay to buy them. I'm not going to ask you for comps. They should know that the fucking $21 tickets were going to cost me $429 more than everybody else.
It's a lot.
Uh-huh. And he threw in a fee in there too.
Of course. So let's talk about Basil Devito. He's back. He left a few years prior. Why did he leave? Why is he coming back? Is Vince calling him? Is he calling back? And what can you tell us about Basil? It's a name we hear occasionally, but most of us don't really know much about him.
Basil was head of promotions when I first started there. I think Basil was from Indiana, or hell, he might be from up here. His dad owns an oil delivery service. So, see Conrad up here in the Northeast, you got these oil things in your house for heating. And the oil truck backs up to the oil spigot, and they put oil in your oil thing, and then when it gets cold, the oil heats up your house. So you got oil heat. See, down in the Alabama and Texas, we just turn on the goddamn heat and the air conditioner.
Yep.
Yeah, no. No. You got to have propane. You got to have oil.
Oil.
Okay. You know, like you put in your car.
Got it.
Yeah, Pennzoil.
You gonna tell me about Basil, or are we just gonna keep doing this oil bit?
So Basil had gone to help his dad with his oil business.
Okay.
And then he came back. Basil's a smart guy, man. Basil worked with NBA and loved horse racing. So he was involved with the folks with Kentucky Derby and Preakness and all that. He was an avid fan of that, but also really loved to work with them on the promotion of it. So Basil came from a lot of experience and was one of those people that had a way with Vince that Vince trusted and had proven very successful over the years. For many years, Basil and Bob Collins were a tag team.
So he reaches out to Vince, or you guys reach out to Basil?
I don't really remember. I don't remember. It was just like, hey, Basil's coming back, but he's going to come back and help us with some of our, new business ventures, and we'll take it from there. See if he comes on full time. I don't even remember if Basil ever really did ever come back as a full-time employee. I know he's been back many times to consult on a lot of different business ventures through the years. But
is there something that we fans who are watching at home, maybe we saw on TV or we heard about or read about, that you could sort of point to and say, that was Basil. Basil did that, whatever it may be?
As far as Basil, I think Basil may have been the one that brought up the three different locations. That may have been Vince, but I know Basil ran Chicago and things of that nature. If you want to see Basil and Ed Cohen, two people that were very instrumental. If you go to the Wrestling Classic on Peacock and check out the Wrestling Classic, Basil and Ed Cohen are the ones that are holding the fishbowl for the guys to draw their names in the Wrestling Classic tournament.
That's cool.
Yeah, Basil's a big tall one, Ed Cohen's a short one with the mustache. But Bob Collins was more of a promoter. Bob Collins was more of Ringling Brothers and things like that. So, Bob did the bus. Bob did the blimp. Basil was more along the lines of strategic things, where to run, and let's have this press conference at the Harley Davidson Cafe. Let's, those kind of Lawrence Taylor workouts.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Got it.
That was Basil Devito's thinking and type of promotion.
What about Mark Henry? And this is the era where he's going to be sponsored by the WWF and his Olympic run. How does he come on your radar? And would that have been a Basil initiative, perhaps?
No, that was a dunking championship initiative. Terry Todd, who was Mark Henry's manager and mentor, great guy. Terry was a rider and a power lifter. Austin, Texas, University of Texas, God bless Texas. Terry had done an article for SI about Andre the Giant many years before that and had become friendly with Vince. So from time to time, if Terry Todd would come across talent he thought would be good for the business, he'd call Vince and get him in touch. And that's what he did with Mark Henry, saying, look, this kid's going to the Olympics. He's got a ton of personality. Check him out on this NBA dunk challenge. And there was Mark Henry dunking a basketball. So he had a lot of charisma and athleticism.
Isn't it crazy to think too that both Mark Henry and Kurt Angle are both competing in those 96 Olympics, and here they are, WWE Hall of Famers?
Yeah.
It's reported in the Observer, quote, McMahon is making an effort to sign a lot of the key guys to 5-year deals as he apparently wants to avoid more Hall and Nash situations. Do you remember there being a paradigm shift to that regard? Like, hey, wait a minute now. We've invested all this time, effort, energy, and cash in building these characters, and then they're taking what we've built and using it against us. We need to lock these guys up.
Yeah, it was. And the conundrum there was, how do you guarantee any kind of money beyond the whatever $25 for TV that we had guaranteed in there? And it caused everybody to take a whole brand new look at the business and the way that we've run the business traditionally for so many years. That, all right, you got to time up for a longer period of time. And in order to do that, you need to give them something, more substantial, when you're hearing all these rumors about what WCW is doing and allegedly giving to everybody.
You mentioned earlier, sometimes travel to Canada could be difficult. Do you remember your travel for this show? Anything stick out?
God, I don't know. Unless it was, I have no idea. Unless this was the Blunt Brothers Cafe. I think the Blunt Brothers Cafe came a little bit later.
All right, Bruce, we're finally here. It's time to get to the pay-per-view. General Motors Place.
Did I tell you what's coming my way here shortly?
What's coming your way, Bruce?
Some homemade Cinnamelt things.
What is a Cinnamelt?
McDonald's used to have little bites of cinnamon, they're basically like a little round donut hole type thing of a cinnamon roll.
Okay.
With gooey, yummy cinnamon sugar and shit and icing on top of it.
And you're eating that for breakfast?
I will be if they bring it into me.
What do you think if Vince were here and saw you eating cinnamon swirlies for breakfast? What would he say?
He would say, "Goddamn, I'm proud of you, pal."
Okay.
What are you having for breakfast?
I won't be having breakfast today. I'm recording a podcast with you and then one with Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, well, you can eat. I'm going to eat during this. I'm going to make you pretend like you're doing Ric Flair.
So I was just going to say, this is the Ric Flair show all of a sudden, which maybe is one of the funniest moments in my entire podcast run here, where he's talking, we're having a conversation about some sort of, headlock on hunger type campaign where we're feeding hungry people, and he's just eating kimchi into the microphone. It's tremendous.
Well, where'd you want him to eat it?
I don't know, downstairs before we got on here. And I'm like, Rick, they can hear you eating. No, they can't. No, the mic's not picking that up. It's fine. Okay.
Well, I'll make sure you hear me.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I wish we were recording video of this, cause we would see a shirtless, cinnamon covered Bruce Prichard momentarily.
Drinking his fourth Gatorade of the last 2 hours.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everybody what you got going on?
I got poopies going on. It's like runny poopies, and it's not very pleasant. And I'm
a lot this morning, apparently.
Huh?
It's a lot this morning, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was up all night, all morning, and you're fucking calling me and beeping me and doodly doo 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 doodly doo 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 doo.
Hey.
And I can't answer it because I'm indisposed.
I don't want to hear that. You said this past week, I can't record on Saturday. I got out of town guests, but we could do Sunday night. Okay. Crickets. I get a call Monday. Hey, let's do tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. Crickets.
I got double crossed.
And then you said, I'll be done at the end of the day. I'll be ready at 5. 6:30. I just say, hey, this ain't looking so good, huh? Then you say, we'll do it tomorrow morning. And then yesterday morning, you just sleep. And now this morning,
I didn't sleep long.
You said, listen, I'm sorry. This is my fault. I'll be ready tomorrow morning at 7.
I did. I slept my ass off because I thought somebody was going to wake me up early, and they didn't.
Well, I called 182 times.
Huh?
I called 182 times because you won't respond to text messages. You got your ringer off, but the phone will ring and wake your big ass up. And now here you are sparking the ball on me saying, oh yeah, my wife's in there making me, Cinna sticks,
buns,
Cinna bun stick, roll
melts,
swirly holes.
It's more like a melty thing. It's like the center of a cinnamon roll in every bite. You're
pretty excited about this.
I love cinnamon. Cinnamon's my favorite.
Well, let's jump into the show here. July 21st, 1996. The gate was $214,985 Canadian, which is roughly $87 American. There's 14,804 fans.
Now you're making fun of Canada.
You had nearly 12,000 paying fans here, Bruce, 11,955. It feels like business is doing pretty well here.
It was. Yeah, it was. And that's what people always kind of forget about in the Monday Night Wars. Business was doing well for everyone. And, in particular WCW, because they had never experienced business like that before. So they heralded that, but business was starting to pick up pretty much everywhere.
On the pre-show, Jim Cornette and Jose Lothario are going to get into it, and Cornette does a money back guarantee where he says, if my team doesn't win the main event, I'll refund every ticket and every pay-per-view. How old school Southern is that, dude?
Goddamn. They believe it, because look at him. He's got a nice cowboy shirt on. Motherfucker.
So our very first...
you, motherfucker.
When was the last time you talked to Jim?
It's been a while since he started hating me.
You think y'all will ever be friends again?
Look, man.
I mean, I know you consider him a friend.
I have absolutely zero animosity towards Jim Cornette for anything in any way, shape, or form.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
No, I never have.
Well, I didn't say you had. I mean, I know he's upset with you. What's that?
You applied it.
No.
Okay.
I asked if y'all could be friends again. I'd like that. Yeah. Let's talk about the match. We got Body Donnas working with Smoking Guns. That's a very 1996 matchup. They go 13 minutes and 5 seconds. And Meltzer would write this: before the match, the Body Donnas did an interview clumsily explaining why Cloudy wasn't there. They've dumped the character. It appears that WWF has gotten sensitive about the charges of too many transvestite / lesbian / perverted type characters, although the Cloudy deal clearly wasn't working at all. We've talked about it before, but catch everybody up on Jimmy Shoulders, aka Cloudy, and why this was even a thing.
Oh God. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It was a way to get Sunny away from the Body Donnas and kind of out on her own. And I think the idea came from Skip, from Chris Candido, with the old Jimmy Shoulders. They have them in their corner, and instead of sunny, it's not going to be a sunny day. It'll be a cloudy day. What's the opposite of sunny? Cloudy. Yeah.
You proud of that?
No.
Yeah. I think maybe
it was good.
I think my favorite Cloudy story I've ever heard is Tracy Smothers. Have you heard Tracy Smothers tell his Cloudy story?
Oh, I can hardly wait.
Supposedly, when Tracy comes in as Freddie Joe Floyd, this is around the same era, Cloudy's there, and he had been friendly with Mark Calloway back into the WCW days, but now he's working here in the WWF. And of course, Mr. Calloway is the Undertaker, so he's a top guy. So Tracy's hanging around, and Mr. Calloway sees the Cloudy persona and makes some sort of comment to his circle of friends at the time in that group. Man, some people will do anything for a job around here, won't they? And supposedly Tracy said, I know, man, you've been dead for 6 years, right? Which is just a great Cloudy line. The match itself is not that bad. I actually watched it this week and I kind of dug it, but apparently it was not well received by Mr. Meltzer. He gave it 3/4 of a star. He says all four worked hard, but it just didn't click. Fans still aren't into the Body Donnas as baby faces. There was a Buns of Steel chant, obviously directed at Sonny, who comes across as the only star of the tag team division. At one point, Sonny did a fainting spot and Skip acted concerned while Zip tried to talk him out of being concerned. And then he got by Sonny, she slapped him, and the Guns jumped him. So Sonny is heavily involved in the match. Do you think that's to the detriment of the tag team division? Like, was there too much of a focus on her? Did she sort of overshadow the in-ring action at times, or?
I think that she may have been one of the few reasons that people would have watched those matches.
I agree.
So I don't think she overshadowed it at all. I thought she brought attention to it.
What was it about Sonny? She just had a presence.
I'm sure she did. Sunny she had charisma and she had personality. You met her. No, she had a lot of personality.
What'd you think of the match? And what'd you think of the Body Donnas as a baby face? I mean, just them as a baby face, as a concept, that didn't really make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like me being a baby face.
It's impossible.
Right. And the Guns as heels didn't work.
Yeah, people want to like the Smoking Guns and they want to boo the Body Donnas, but it feels like we've just got everybody sort of out of sorts.
Yeah, it just, to me, it was a good match. It was a really good match, but it just was not a whole lot of feeling from it.
What was your relationship like with Tom in this era? Was he frustrated? And if he was he able to express that to you? Or are y'all, is it sort of boys and office at that point?
No, I think everybody on that side was pretty frustrated. I think Tom was frustrated with the whole Body Donna gimmick and with the whole drama of Sonny and Skip and everybody involved. I think it was a lot. I think he would have been happier just, wrestling somewhere, anywhere, and not have to deal with the drama and the gaga. The gaga at a base.
Did you think when you look at these four guys, well, maybe not you, did Vince think there was a breakout star here? I mean, once upon a time, he plucked Bret Hart out of a tag team and Shawn Michaels out of a tag team. With the Body Donnas and the Smoking Guns, if Vince had to bet, would he have put his money on Billy Gunn as being the breakout star?
Absolutely. Billy and Bart both. It just, they had the size, they had the looks, were good workers. I just think for whatever reason, sometimes that personality, getting it out of them, which you got backstage, and then what you got on camera were two different things.
Was Candido just a little undersized for Vince's taste? Would that keep him from being viewed in that way? Because personality wise, he had it. Everybody loves talking about, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people who had a bad thing to say about him and his matches were great. So what was it that kept Candido from moving up in Vince's mind?
Maybe, I think part of it was his attitude. Chris always had a chip on his shoulder. And, he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. Yeah. But he had to, I don't want to say he argued about everything, but kind of always had a comment and a better way to do it. In his mind, that was very, I think Chris would have been great in the 60s. Chris would have been a top guy in the 60s.
How so?
That was the era that he loved. That was the era and the style that he truly loved. And he could have fit in that era being that wrestling heel. He would have been great in the 60s and 70s.
Next up is supposed to be Mankind versus Jake Roberts, but supposedly Roberts goes AWOL and no shows. What do you remember about what's going on here? Because Jake eventually does return, but he's just not here for this show. Did he have trouble getting across?
I believe that Jake was not welcome in Canada at the time.
Got it. Did you not know that when you booked it and you found out after the fact?
No, it was there. You work on paperwork. What the fuck's it called? A minister's permit. And for people to get in that sometimes may have trouble getting in. And I just don't think that everything got done in time.
Got it.
It was supposed to be done on time, but
whose lap would that fall on? Is that a JJ Dillon thing?
Yeah, that's a combination of a few different. You've got the folks in Stanford, then you've got the folks in Canada, and then you were at the mercy
of the government
of Canada.
So next up, instead of getting, and man, that could have been fun when you think about it. Mankind versus Jake Roberts. We get Mankind versus Henry Godwinn. They go just
pretty close.
They go just under 7 minutes. Mankind at one point took the mats from the floor and gave Godwinn a neck breaker. And later he took a slam off the apron and splats on the concrete floor. The finish would see Godwin try the slop drop, but Mankind's going to hold on to the ropes and then quickly use the mandible claw. And that's all she wrote. Star and a quarter. Obviously not the level of matches Foley's going to go on to have in his pay-per-view career. But this is a last minute sort of thrown together match, but it still showcases what Foley can do, right?
Yeah, I think that at this time in his career, I think Mankind was showing everybody that he was a player. You know, he wasn't Cactus Jack Foley and he wasn't, you know, just doing crazy shit. It was, man, there was some psychology there and some nice perverted twistedness to the Mankind character that people could identify with. And he was coming into his own. I think you could put Mick up against anybody at this time and Mick would have shined and made his opponent look 1,000 times better as well.
Let's talk about the next match. It's Steve Austin and Marc Mero. This is a rematch from King of the Ring. Mero. I gotta go 10 minutes.
I always think when you say Marco to me, you want me to answer back.
I do.
You just want me to answer in general.
Yeah, just any response. I might actually post a screen grab of mine in your text conversation because it's just me texting you over and over and over with no reply.
That's not, yeah, but okay, that's not fair. Cause like today it's, okay, it is a whole page, but it's, they're all in a row. That's not fair. I mean, I could give you I could text you a bunch of, I'm up, called no answer, tried Skype and phone. Come on, baby. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey.
Well, Jesus Christ, man, you set the time, you set the day, and then you no-show over and over and over. I got shit to do, man.
I'm sorry.
But, I mean, you're excited about your goddamn cinnamon melts and your little poo-poos and your Gatorades.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Marc Mero?
I thought I was.
They're really pushing the accident from King of the Ring where Mero kicked Austin in the mouth. That's where, of course, where he had those stitches. Oh, Bruce is getting his delivery.
What? Ooh, look at that, Amber. I'm on TV, on radio. They can't see you. He can see you, but they can't hear you. So if you want to say hi, I could only be the only one to hear you.
That's not true. Conrad can hear me.
I can hear you just fine.
Yeah. Hi, Conrad.
Hey, Amber.
Okay, baby, go.
Okay, have fun.
You're really eating on the show now. This is where we are. We're eating on the show.
Well, what the hell?
What was that?
You can't tell.
Oh, right. That's right, Mr. Flair. You're exactly right.
They can't hear this.
No. This is fucking gross. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at a shirtless Bruce Prichard with bedhead and a gallon of Gatorade, and his lights are off in his office, and it's just a monitor glow as he tries to see how big a piece of cinnamon bread he can fit in his mouth. You had to really stretch on that one. We went in at an angle to get it in.
But you couldn't hear it.
No, you couldn't hear it. I'm giving play-by-play, though, so they can have the same Bruce Prichard experience that I am right now.
God damn, that's heaven.
So this is a good match. Meltzer would say nowhere close to as good as their King of the Ring match, though. 3 stars. Did Austin and Mero have chemistry or not so much?
No, they didn't. Steve didn't like working with Mark. Mark wasn't really good. And, Mark gets a bad rap. And I think that Mark mistakes sometimes his talent in the ring, which Johnny B. Bad character was over and he played very well. Mark wasn't a great worker, and Mark didn't have a lot of charisma on his own. Marc Mero, the human being, I think is a really nice guy and a good person. But I think that he just, was fucked up in the head a little bit from this point going forward.
The momentum is really starting to turn on Austin. I mean, the crowd's really behind him as a babyface in this match. You guys are taking notice that even though he's booked as a heel, fans don't want it. They want to cheer this guy.
In Canada.
Yeah.
They're loving him. So it's funny when you look at this and then you think through a year or two and Steve's coming out and it's all anti-America and anti-Steve Austin because he's working with Brett.
Let's jump into the little story that's happening here in the match. Marlena and the Usher, of course, this is part of the Goldust presentation, come out apparently to give a gift to Sable, but instead they give an envelope to Lawler, who hands it to McMahon, and it's never referred to again. Meltzer would say the timing of this was bad as she distracted the crowd with her entrance as the guys were building up a string of hot moves. What was this supposed to be? What's the thinking here? Do you recall?
I don't fucking remember at all, but I will say this. You ever seen the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
You remember when the flying monkeys were flying and it looked like they were all in old school movie theater outfits?
Yep.
That's what Richie Posner looked like here.
I agree.
Yeah, he looked like the old school monkey from the Wizard of Oz. I don't remember what the fuck the letter was.
Huh.
Getting old.
You are. Next up, we got Undertaker working with Goldust. They go 12 minutes and 7 seconds. Meltzer would say the first 3 minutes and 15 seconds was all stalling. Of course, eventually they get going, and wouldn't you know it, Mankind's here. He's going to come out from under the ring and put the claw on the Undertaker for the DQ. And then he drags him under the ring, and a bunch of smoke comes from under the ring, and fans are chanting rest in peace. Finally, Undertaker pops up from under the ring and chases Mankind to the back. The two theoretically continue to brawl backstage, and they are shown a poorly lit clip of the two apparently fighting in a boiler room. Of course, we know this is going to be used to set up the boiler room match at SummerSlam. Man, Undertaker and Foley had great chemistry. What'd you think about Undertaker and Goldust, though? How did they click?
I think they missed. For whatever reason, two great workers, they missed. I don't think they really had good chemistry. And it was oftentimes a chore to pull that out of them. The Undertaker, to the contrary, Undertaker and Mankind, just without even talking, had great chemistry and were able to pull out everything under the sun. And this was during time, we're getting to the Boiler Room Brawl in Cleveland, which damn near killed the Undertaker with staph infection. But it was an interesting time and a lot of interesting. You're telling multiple stories in every damn match and in every show, with multiple characters involved, with not just one foe. There are a lot of different things.
Let's talk about the Goldust push, if you will, the almighty push, as JR talks about. Does it feel like from this point on, the character is maybe losing a little steam? I mean, I think you could even say when he dropped the belt to Ahmed, he never really got that momentum back.
I think the character had a limited shelf life. And what I mean by that is that you could use the character in spurts. Over the long haul, he needed rest. He needed rest periods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To continue that controversial type of character for too long, you have to have built-in breaks. And he had been on as Goldust, the androgynous, and very controversial. I think that there was such a yearning, especially on Dustin's part. What's next? What do we do next? And I think the answer should have been, this is hindsight. The answer should have been, go away, learn a new hold, and come back. Whether, it was for us or somebody, but give that character a rest. I think that really would have helped the longevity of the Goldust character as it was.
Now it's time for a main event. We got Vader, Davey Boy, and Owen Hart on one side. Of course, Jim Cornette is their manager. How did Owen and Davey like working with Vader?
Owen drove Vader nuts.
How so?
Ribbing him.
Oh, I love that. You got?
Do you remember the Slammies? where Owen accidentally dumped the whole tray of food on Vader.
Yes.
Yeah. And Vader just held that against Owen forever. And Owen loved it. But Owen loved to fuck with Leon. He loved to rib him and just, God, was it Owen that did that? Might have been, I don't even know who did it, whether it was Owen or Davey Boy. Somebody cut Vader's laces on his boots. So Leon was lacing up his boots, and he just saw, well, they're unlaced. And he gets up and he gets them all the way to the top, and they're just, maybe a half-inch short on each side. So there's no way he could tie his boots up and everything. Would have to unlace shit like that. I don't think Leon was ever used to, Leon was always the big dog in the dressing room, and ooh, I'm Big Van Vader and all this bullshit. That Leon had that intimidation factor, and there was no intimidation factor
right
when Leon came here. So, and Leon would sell. So Owen loved when people sold. But overall, I think they got along pretty good. I don't think Owen and Davey were crazy about working with Leon, because sometimes you would touch him and then you'd get Vadered.
On the other side, it's Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, and Psycho Sid. Boy, I'm curious to hear what Shawn thought of his tag team partners here, Ahmed Johnson and Psycho Sid. How did they get along?
They got along fine. Shawn and Sid got along real well. And Shawn, had used Sid as his bodyguard. And one of the just, I don't want to say funny, cute, different things was before the WrestleMania 11 press conference. We were in the back, and there was Sid basically dressing Shawn and tying Shawn's tie for him and getting him, getting his hair put everywhere just right. And it was just, here's this giant monster of a man. And he's tying Shawn's tie and getting everything just right. It was kind of funny, but they got along good. They had a good relationship.
What about Ahmed?
Ahmed, I think everyone saw the potential in Ahmed, and I think that Shawn saw the potential in Ahmed, definitely. But it was, Ahmed was his own man, and pretty much as hard as he would try, it still didn't necessarily click with anybody, really.
What do you think of the match? This feels like a rather thrown together main event. Just here's our top baby faces and here's three of our top heels. What'd you think of the chemistry and the way they pulled it off?
Actually, I thought they pulled it off well. Oh, it was a damn good match. You look at the guys involved, and you better have a damn good match out of it. I'm going to leave Ahmed out of that equation. But probably better than it deserved to be based on who was in it and kind of the hodgepodgeness of putting it all together.
What do you remember about the fan who tried to hop the rail, and he even makes it all the way to the ring apron before security gets him? In these situations, it's live TV.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. It's, people forget, first of all, it's a show.
Yeah.
Would you go, run up in the middle of Garth Brooks concert?
Or a show on Broadway or something like that.
Or a show on Broadway or whatever. The other thing about it is they also forget that they're jumping in on highly trained and skilled athletes that train to, a lot of them, train to hurt people.
Yeah.
So I've never understood that. I think it's just really, really bad. I've never seen one that has been good for the person doing the jumping.
This is a great moment, though, of all the fan jumping the rail situations. Go watch this one, because when Ahmed Johnson realizes a fan is trying to jump in the ring, all it takes is the fan to get one good look at Ahmed looking at him, and he just voluntarily jumps back.
So would I.
Yeah.
Yeah, so would I. It's all of a sudden reality hits, man.
I didn't think this through. I'm going to go ahead and get back.
They don't look as big on TV.
So either way, Shawn's going to set up the super kick. Jim Cornette's going to grab his ankle. Vader's going to charge the corner and give Michaels a big body block. Hits him with a Vader bomb, and that's the pin. After the match, Sid is going to powerbomb Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith, and then he goes to powerbomb Vader, but of course Smith and Hart pull Vader out of the ring. Michaels then does the running tope over the top onto Vader. He gets 3 3/4 stars in the Observer, and now we're all set. We're going to have Vader challenging for the world title at SummerSlam. What could have been, man? Could have been a hell of a finish to the year for Vader, huh?
Okay.
You don't think so? If the original plan had happened and it's SummerSlam and then it's Survivor Series and then it's Royal Rumble, Vader is WWF champ, that would have been cool, man.
Yeah, I just don't think that the WWE audience bought Vader. Just really don't think they bought him.
Why did y'all drop the ball why did you drop
we didn't drop the ball.
What does that mean? He was a monster in WCW. How could they do it and you couldn't?
Because we didn't have the same guy that was in WCW. We had a guy that got beaten up by a flip-flop. We got a guy that had come in and had lost all of his self-confidence. We had a guy that came in grossly overweight. We didn't have the same guy.
You got to get hot about it.
Attitude-wise, look-wise, weight-wise, ability-wise. We didn't drop the ball for shit. We're not the ones that kept, saying, hey, gosh, man, here, eat some more.
Did you know of any issues that Shawn and Vader had at this point, or do they not really come out until SummerSlam?
No, not really at this point. At this point, I think everybody was still pretty high on Leon and hoping to get that out of him and put him in a position to do it. But once he was put in that position and wasn't able to keep up, well, that's when you realize, I got something other than what I thought I had.
In hindsight, how much better was this match because the Ultimate Warrior wasn't in it and Sid was? I mean, a 6-man tag.
Definitely longer.
Yeah, 24 minutes. My goodness. No way you could do a Warrior match in 24 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was definitely longer, and I just think every participant in that match probably felt better having Sid in there.
There's a couple of ugly looking suplexes here that Ahmed's going to throw on Owen. Was there any heat or concern about Ahmed as far as him being quote unquote dangerous in the ring? Him and Owen really traded some unpleasant moments together.
I think that with Owen, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Owen called it to look that way.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think that Owen was the kind of guy. Owen always loved to paint his own pictures, and Owen always loved to be different and do these unique things that other people didn't do, where you would look like, it made him stand out. That was one of the things that was so special about Owen, how he worked.
So the show overall gets a mixed bag, according to the readers of the Wrestling Observer. It got 38.7% thumbs up, 31.9% thumbs in the middle, and 29.4% thumbs down. You watched it for the first time in 25 years this week, Bruce. What'd you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
I thought it was thumbs up. It was a good show. Was it a great show? No, it wasn't a great show, but it was a good show. And I think that overall, told the stories and took some unfortunate situations and made the best out of them. But at the end of it, you felt good and you had a good 2-hour show.
This to me felt like No Way Out would a few years later. It's sort of the lame duck show to bridge the gap between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, because it feels like so much of this show was really designed just to set up SummerSlam, right?
That was the whole reason for the show. You got committed into these monthly pay-per-views. And so, yeah, it was one set up the next one.
The show is down in buy rate compared to Beware of Dog. You went from a 0.45 to a 0.37. Do you think the Warrior coming off the card hurt the buy rate? Is it more of an indicator that WCW is just a hotter product? Or are fans not really going to buy a 6-man main event as a heated issue?
Well, and again, not having the official numbers in front of me and going back and looking at official, like real numbers and what business actually was, and listening to what a dirt sheet writer in California writes down as numbers. I can't take a lot of credence in that. Because I don't think that he knew the numbers at all either. I think that he was calling few people at pay-per-view companies and things of that nature. And hey, how'd this do? That's how he got his information. Make no mistake about it. He didn't have real numbers. He doesn't have access to our real business numbers. So I really don't even know how to even respond to that, because when I know that 99% of his stuff is false, it's hard to react to that.
Okay. Well, as a point of reference, King of the Ring got a .60 buy rate. SummerSlam.
But you're reading Meltzer stuff.
Nope, I'm not.
You're reading our financials?
Yes.
Okay, if you're reading our financials, I don't have them in front of me.
Let's jump to some questions. Now that I know you're cantankerous, I can tell that now you need a nap after your cinnamon slams.
They're melts. They're like the people that ever went to McDonald's got Cinemelts. That's what these are, but they're homemade.
Neil Wagner writes, with the loss of the Ultimate Warrior before the show and the addition of Sid, does Bruce remember any potential SummerSlam storylines lost from Warrior or gained by Sid? He did face Bulldog at SummerSlam, but was that a plan made by this show? So let's break that down piece by piece. What would the Warrior have done at SummerSlam?
God, I don't even remember. I want to say I want to say Warrior. I want to say Vader, but we were going with
Shawn and Vader.
Vader and Shawn.
So what would that have been? Well, Bulldog?
God, I don't even remember.
Owen?
It probably would have
had to be Bulldog, right?
Yeah. It would have either been Bulldog or Owen.
Well, it feels like the Owen Ahmed thing was a thing, and Bulldog did wind up wrestling Sid at SummerSlam, so perhaps that was it. But
yeah, that may have been it. One of the things with Owen though and Warrior was that we did talk about and did want to do was to get Warrior to have a match,
a regular match.
Yes.
Yeah. What about Sid? When Sid comes back on the scene, obviously he's viewed as an upgrade within the office, but fan wise, opponent wise, matchup wise, what matches are you excited about for Sid? Of course, we know he's going to wind up working with Shawn towards the end of the year and become world champ, but that wasn't the original spot. That was supposed to be Vader's spot. Sid's rise here is just right place, right time, right?
It really and truly is. It was filling a void and Sid coming in, and I think doing what Sid does. Sid comes in and Sid will get over, man. People believe in this crazy bastard. Great look, great intensity, and they believed.
Instagram, a wrestling historian, wants to know, would the main event have played out the same way if Ultimate Warrior had stayed? Meaning, would the heels have gone over? Would Vader have still pinned Shawn?
Probably. Because that was the story. That was where we were going. That was the big story to come out of everything.
Sangravasi says, I would like to know, did Vince promise Sid a title run to fill in for Warrior? We know 4 months later, he's the champ at Survivor Series.
Absolutely not.
Colby wants to know, what was the process for naming each In Your House show? Did you have a single meeting to plan out several themes in a row, or do you plan each show individually? What's that look like?
No, they're individually. Usually at this time, they were based on
location,
story, and whatever we were doing at the time.
GJ Refill says, previously you said there was a point where Austin and Sable looked at each other and there seemed to be chemistry, professionally, not romantically, just in that brief look. Is this the event where it happened? I think there's a couple of times where you've remarked, but why don't you think that ever became a thing on camera? I'm not saying real life.
Steve didn't feel it, man. Steve did not feel working with Sable at that time. He thinks would have brought him down. You're splitting the spotlight there. Because Sable was over.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve was over like Rover. So you split that spotlight, and now it's less of a focus on Steve.
Well, we're going to be focused on Trish Stratus next week. That's going to bring this week's episode to a close. In Your House 9 International Incident. We'll be back next week to talk all things Trish, and then we'll wrap up the month of July with, are you ready for this, Bruce? Ask Bruce Anything.
What?
I love those.
Don't ask me shit.
Okay.
Sick of your questions.
In August, we're going to cover some interesting stuff. We're going to cover SummerSlam 06. We're also going to cover Farouk and his run through the company. We're even going to take a look at an old Monday Night Raw, which will be a lot of fun. And I'm going to make you sit through Hog Wild 1996. I know you're excited.
The hell is that?
Exactly. It's the Sturgis motorcycle rally with wrestling.
Why?
Because I want to punish you.
That's mean.
But you made me watch it. I'm a fat guy, right? And you just ate cinnamon melty swirly Dunkaroos in front of me.
You want some?
I mean, how are you going to get it here from Connecticut? I'm in Alabama, as you call it.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Sweet home Alabama.
No.
Well, yeah.
How excited are you that fans are going to be back tonight on SmackDown?
You have no idea.
And how about this? They're coming back in Houston. What about that?
They are.
The first,
that's pretty damn cool. You know, Houston was really the last huge live event we had with Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's pretty big. I'm excited. I think that there's nothing like a live audience.
How fun is it too that the first SmackDown after 9/11, I feel strongly that saving money is important. You know, if it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan. And you can do this without perfect credit, with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com. Was in Houston, and now the first SmackDown with fans after the pandemic. Houston's
the spot.
It's going to be fun, man. I'm excited. I haven't seen SmackDown
it's going to be fun
with fans in a while. So stay tuned tonight on Fox. Fans are back. Then you got the big pay-per-view this weekend, Money in the Bank. And then Monday you guys are in Dallas, right?
Absolutely. It's a Texas run, by God. It'll be like my old weekends back in the day with Mid-South. The only thing replacing it would be Fort Worth on Friday night at Billy Bob's, and then Sunday in Tulsa and Oak City.
What about the fam? Are they going with you to this run?
No.
Oh, okay.
Gotta work.
Well, I thought they might want to hang out with friends and family while you're there.
No, I have no friends. I have no family.
Not you. I know you don't.
Oh, okay.
Them.
Oh.
Your family has friends and family. You don't.
Okay.
You got Bill Gray and me and JP Shellnut. You got some weird friends now that I think about it.
Yeah, I do. God, especially when they say it out loud. That's kind of weird.
It is weird. But it's weird that we're on time this week. It only took 4 tries, but I appreciate you blocking off some time for me this morning in between bites.
Can I turn my phone back on now?
You can turn your phone back on, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. Tell everybody about Something to Wrestle. If you haven't already, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're hitting a milestone, or so they tell me. Steve Kaufmann's doing a great job over there. So if you're trying to introduce the show to a friend of yours, maybe the best way to do it is through YouTube. You can see clips there. And of course, you get all of our shows early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. And we'll be back next week to talk about Trish Stratus. Easy for me to say. Until next week, he is at Bruce Prichard. I am at Hey, it's Conrad. And we hope you watch SmackDown tonight with fans. Come on, get you some of that. We'll see you next week right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Love you all. Rock on.
Is that your new thing? You're going to say love you all?
No.
Okay.
I just felt like it today.
All right. You got to get hot about it.
I do love them.
Are you going to poop again?
They listen to our stuff. I love them. You don't love them?
Oh, of course I do.
Are you going to go poop again?
Nope. I'm all pooped out.
It's gurgling. Dude, at one point you could hear it over the microphone. I just didn't bring attention to it.
You could hear your stomach rumble?
Yeah.
What do you think it is? You think it's your diet? See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.